this is Sean, and in today's lesson I'm going to be looking at major 7th voicings. The reason is they may seem obvious to many people, however most people who are new to jazz, or often just new to my lessons and have played jazz for a while, are making some typical mistakes which are really easy to solve. So let's dig into major 7th voicings and see what we can do. Now a basic C major 7th clearly has 1, 3, 5 and 7. But you know what? I'd rarely play it in a form as basic as that. It doesn't mean you've got to decorate the life out of it either. But this is not a good way to play it. If you come from a pop background or sometimes a classical background, people often play 2 big C's in the bass and a C there. So really you've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 notes. 3 of them are C. And jazz is a subtle music. It's very hard to get that subtlety when you've got such powerful roots. So what we want to do is create something more subtle, which is quite easy to do because just moving one note makes all the difference. What we'll do is we'll keep a root for now, but in the right hand, in fact let's bring the root closer. In the right hand, let's move the 1 to 2. Okay, we could even put a 7th in the left hand. This lesson isn't really about that. It's more about the right hand part, but we can have 1 and 7. Another C major 7 here, but the root is moved up to the 2nd degree. Like that. You'll get a much softer sound. And 9 times out of 10, when you get a C major 7 written, the melody note will be one of those 4 notes. 9 times out of 10. So we'll look at the implications of that in a minute. So we can look at that right hand part that we've created and give it a name in its own right. Look what happens if we invert that. It's G6, right? So G6 has 1, 3, 5 and 6 of the G major scale. We're not changing keys, we're just looking at the key of G to establish how to make a G6. And the thing about G6 is, you'll hear me say this a lot, you'll hear me say that's G6 over C. Now another guy will say, well hold on a minute, that's C major with a 9th in it, so surely it's C major 9. Why are you calling G6 over C? Why are you calling it G6 over C? Well, the reason is, in right hand chords, which I use on most standards, I don't play stuff like, unless I'm improvising, it would be more of a 2-handed chord system, you know. And what we'll do is we'll invert that right hand part. If we come back to our chord that we're looking at today, we'll invert it depending on what the melody note is. If the melody note was D, this would become like that, inverted. Okay. If the melody note was E, it would be like that. The left hand can stay the same. If the melody note was G, it would be like that. Maybe the left hand just take one note. We've got plenty of invertible things we can do. There's the G6 over C in its most obvious form, a G6 over the top of C. Again, if you're used to saying C major 9, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not here to convince you not to do that anymore. But I'd also like you to know that I've found more things by using that as a description for that voicing of C major 7. So you're still going to see C major 7 written, but you'll just always move that 1 to 2. And more reasons why. G6 is invertible, as I showed you before. If you say C major 9, how are you going to invert that? Well, now you've got to take the C from the bottom and put it at the top. It's not a small invertible thing like the G6 is when you're playing the right hand chords. Another reason, which it's too early to go into in this lesson, but I like to prepare my students early, is that we use G6 movements in movement. So actually we have movement scales, and later on I apply those G major 6 diminished actually movements. And again, don't worry about that yet, but this is why I do it. I'll apply those to a C major 7, so I get these sorts of sounds. So I like to make the association early so that my students are prepared for that. So that's my favourite way of voicing a C major 7. I do that on virtually every C major 7. They're really useful, really easy, soften your sound and give you a much more authentic feel to your playing. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. Thanks for watching.